Welcome to Project Brupeg, the story of a sunken fishing trawler being converted to a global expedition and research boat. Kitchen! Tim delivered the kitchen, flat packed, ready to go in. The guys straighten the last slider and they blast the sliders ready to go up. Just a quick update. With COVID, we're a little bit behind. Of course, without volunteers being able to be on board, it does change things. But we're going gangbusters, really, considering the cat one. She's doing great. I've got the vet hopefully coming this week to give her a little check over. Because Damon and I are allergic to cats, it's quite hard her being on board. And we don't think that she's resilient enough, having been a stray, to be on board. She's very skittish. She does get quite frightened. For some reason, she's decided to stay during winter. She's been well fed and wormed, and it's been great having her here. But we're thinking of rehoming her, seeing if we can find someone she'd really like. She's easier with females than males. We think she's probably had a wee bit of a bad experience at some point. But she's adapted really well to being domesticated. In fact, she's hijacked our bed. So we'll keep you updated about that. The next few episodes is all about the stabilizers. There's other things that have happened. Kitchens have been delivered, but it's all about the stabilizers. That's our main focus. We've got to get them finished. After that, we've got to blast out some of the kitchen, replace a little bit of metal in the galley and in the front accommodation, and paint, blast it and paint, insulate, and get that ready for the kitchen to be installed. It's looking like Tim might be up to help Damien and Trevor install this beautiful thing. And after that, we've got the exhausts. 4 exhausts need to go in, and we've got the shroud to organise, and ventilation for the engine bay to sort out. After that, there's a bit of blasting, tidying up around the boat. We've got to close up the keel, finish the hull work, any engine work that's needing to be done. Anything that can be done while we're moving on water, we're going to leave, but those are the main things we've got to get done. There's quite a bit of sanding and painting to do on the hull and the cabin, but hopefully it won't be too much longer.
So it's after work o'clock, and I'm going to get stuck into the last of the welding on this final slider. A few people have asked, why didn't we just buy sliders that were the right size? Whether it was like a box section with one side cut off so you form a C, whether it was an actual channel that was purchased. The short answer is you physically can't buy the size that we need. So we need something that's deeper than it is wide. That's not something that channel comes in Australia. It might be something overseas. I must have rung, 7, 8 different suppliers. Nobody had anything that was even remotely close. So what we ended up doing was building what we needed.
It's not love, but it's the best I can do. What you get is what you see in plain view. You won't honor, here it is, sad but true. It's not love, but it's the best I can do. On such short notice.
That's it, done. So 4 sliders welded together. Trevor will come over in the next day or so and he'll straighten that one out. In the meantime, I'm going to go and start blasting. I've got 1 on the bench here and 2 down the end here, so we'll get those put up on some benches. We'll start sandblasting those, and we'll get those nice and clean. We'll get those rust killed, and then we can start fitting them to the side of the boat. So we'll do the starboard side first, and then we'll transfer it across onto the port side, mainly because we've got the 20mm plate welded onto the top of the arm already. But because we understand what we're doing with the arm, the plate, the pins, all that sort of stuff, the sliders, but yeah, port should be pretty fast to do. Now that we understand what we're building on this side, we can knock out the other side pretty quick.
What are you doing, pussycat? Puss, puss, puss. This little monkey. Hello, Fluffy. How you doing?
So we're getting the last slider straightened up. That's our little trick with the 12-ton jack and a chain. We'll get that organised. Trev's over here, he's going to get that bit sorted. I'm going to be down the very far end sandblasting. So we've got the sliders need to be sandblasted and painted before they go up on the boat. We'll probably sandblast them and rust kill them. and then we'll put them up on the boat, and we'll do all of the 2 packing once they're up fully. So that's today's job, get some steel sandblasted. So the sun's gone down over the back, but managed to get one of these blasted. So you can see that's what it comes up like when we've got our wet sandblaster fired up. You get it down to white metal pretty easily. Now what we do is let that rust off slightly and then put rust kill on, and it bonds to the steel really hard as what is it? It's phosphoric acid, iron phosphate. It turns from iron oxide rust into iron phosphate, and you end up with a really strong, tough bond. We had our steers basically going down into the freezer room in exactly the same state as this, blasted metal, put iron, put phosphoric acid on them, and then maybe nearly 2 years later, they're still in exactly the same condition. It's an amazing, amazing stuff to put on steel that's bare like this. What's so different about this one? It seems to be taking an extraordinary amount of bend.
It is taking a lot of bending. Well, last time I was doing it, I was getting sufficient bend with about 70mm on the tape.
Yeah.
And I've bent this up to 125mm, and it still needs bending.
Really? Wow. Oh, well, I guess we press on then until it's done, isn't it?
Press on.
So I've got the light cranked right up on the camera so that I can actually talk to you, but it's pretty dark at the moment, so we've run out of light to be able to do what we need to do. I got 95% of one slider blasted, and I'm going through roughly 2 tanks of sand per slider, so I think it's about 30 litres per tank, something like that. Trev, let me show you what he got up to. He managed to get the last slider, so slider number 4, bent probably 95% of the way there. There's just a little bit that he has to get right in the middle, so I'll show you what he's working on. This light's more realistic, so just down in here, where are we? About here somewhere on the slider, there's a little kink, so you might not be able to see it, but when you look along the length, you can just make it out. It is about there somewhere on the screen, so he'll come back in the morning and sort that out. But look at this cracker sunset, pretty nice out the front too. I'll take you up on the wheelhouse and show you what it's like. These are the sort of sunsets we're getting at the minute. Real crisp, clear, beautiful skies. Pretty cool. Lovely winter days in Aussie. A lot going on Brupeg in the last couple of weeks. We've had some changes with our potential crew. We're trying to figure out lockdowns and things like that because they're starting to come back in Australia. One state in Australia is having sort of outbreaks, and they've locked down quite hard. A second state is starting to get outbreaks now as well, and it's possible that they may follow suit in terms of lockdowns and things like that to kind of suppress the coronavirus. So for us, it's a wee bit of a headache in terms of getting a crew up onto the boat. One of them is relatively straightforward, and the other we've actually had to say no to, not necessarily because of the person or anything, but because it's literally getting too hard to get them onto the boat now. The rules are sort of changing day by day. The federal government halved the number of people that can come into Aussie, so it's making things a bit challenging, and no one department is actually giving us clear information, so it's really difficult to figure out who we have to speak to be able to get them into the country and onto the boat. So yeah, that's had a few challenges thrown up, but it's also allowed us to focus back on the boat. We don't have to push so hard to try and get the crew accommodation done. We've got one cabin pretty much ready to go. We just have to build a bed and we're good to go in that room, and we're able to focus pretty heavily on the boat now. So we've been back on the sliders, stabilizers, winches, figuring out what we're doing with doublers and mounting plates and all that sort of stuff up on the roof for those guys. So yeah, a lot of work is happening on that, and yeah, it's kind of priorities are changing day by day as new information comes to light. So yeah, it's a lot of work going on, but also a lot of planning in the background to make sure it all happens. next step in the stabilizers, we need to get the winches, these guys here, up onto the roof so that we can start setting up the winch path and everything, the cable path and so on, so we can lift the sliders and the wings vertical. To do that, there's a few steps that we have to do in sequence, right? So we've got the 24 volt winches. We don't have a house bank that's capable of powering them. Our house bank has shit itself. We need to replace those 4 batteries. Love to do lithium, but don't know what we're going to do yet. Can't do lead acid because it's inside, they can't vent, so it has to be something like a gel battery, AGM, lithium, something like that. Anyway, beside the point. We've got 2 lead acid starting batteries for the main engine. They're big buggers. They're 12 volt, 1200 CCA start batteries, so there's 2 of them. We're going to haul them up onto the roof, set them up as a 24 volt bank, and then we're just going to plug in the winches so that we can start lifting things up and down. But in order to get these 70 kg batteries each up onto the roof, we need to modify our 800 kg electric winch, and we're going to put that up on the roof so that we can lift these batteries up and down the side. I'll show you what we're doing to get that up there. This is the winch, so it's a 800 kg 240 volt winch. So we just need to make a plate on this end of it that allows us to chain this to the roof. Now I have a little winch up here. That's a 100 kg version of the same winch. It's only a wee baby, we're going to swap that out. But if I just pop that up there, you can sort of see at the top we've made a bit of a rusty steel bracket that holds it onto a stainless piece right up the very top there, in between all that yellow stuff. That's what we're building. So down the bottom, I'll show you the plan. We've got a few bits of metal that we're making something out of. Trev's just cleaning up a piece that's going to become the base, and then these 2 pieces here are going to become the parts, the vertical parts that bolt to the stainless, and then they're going to put a strong back of this 12mm thick 100 by 12 steel so that it won't bend. There we go, so a duck's worth 2 in the fridge, picture's worth 1,000 words, something like that. Gives you an idea what we're building. Basically 2 verticals that bolt to the fastening, and then we've got a bit of a vertical strong back so that nothing twists, and then a flat plate that bolts to the winch. So this be the plan. So we're going to basically create that plate there. That's what Trev's cutting out at the moment. We've got our gaps here that we have to do based on our load centre, not the centre of the plate, so centre of where the pull is going to be. It's going to look like that when we're finished, and these brackets here are the 2 verticals just there, so it's all pretty straightforward.
It won't look like that when we're finished.
No, it'll be prettier. So we've got to make sure on the winch itself, if we did it centre over here like that, if we put the lifting point centred like that between the 2 studs, it's in the wrong place because you got 800 kgs hanging off here and nothing hanging off here apart from, I don't know, 10 kgs for the motor or something like that, whatever, probably not even that much. So we have to put the centre sort of over here somewhere so that it roughly balances everything out when you've got the full weight on this thing here. As soon as you've got maybe 60, 70 kgs, it's all going to be pretty even anyway, so that's why we're offsetting it the way we are. So Trev's got the main plate done. He's just figuring out where he's going to put these brackets here. So these are the bits that get welded on, and that takes the load. So that's 16mm by 100mm flat bar, and then the main plate over here is 12mm bar. Well, it's actually a bit of 12mm plate. So that's going to be bolted to the frame of the winch, and then this 100 by 12 flat bar that's sort of sitting underneath, we're going to use that as the strong back down the back to make sure that it won't bend, can't twist and anything like that. And then we've sort of upsized the bolts a wee bit. So yeah, they had 10mm bolts in there, and we've gone slightly longer on the bolts. It's not really a strength thing, it's mainly just so that we can fit it the way that we want because we've over-engineered the mount. And then we're putting a new bolt through the very top where it bolts onto the stainless rail on the boat. On the back of Brupeg, we've made a little thing that we've welded on. And it's a vertical piece of stainless with a pulley so that we can throw a rope through it. Allows us to drop a rope down there. Trev gets that one. And then we dump this one down there. And that allows us to pull the new winch up into position. There's a reason we're putting the winch on. We need to be able to lift a couple of 70 kg batteries up onto the roof so that we can hook our 24 volt winches just there. Need to be able to hook them up. To do that we need the batteries. It's a long story. The easiest way to do it, put the 800 kg winch on the back, get the batteries up onto the roof, and then wire up the winches for the sliders. In order to make this a useful winch, this is the old winch, which is a 100 kg beast, and when we first put this up we made a few modifications. So we added this cord. So the original whatever you call it, dodgy, that thing there, control button sounds more professional. That had a lead that was about 2 meters long, which was kind of useless for us, so we went and got a piece of cable from town, and it's, I think we've got 4.5 meters, something like that now, so we need to swap that over. We also added that there, the plug. So the original was, again, I think it was maybe a meter or meter and a half, something like that. It wasn't very big. We needed a bit more, so we added a cable. I think it was off an old work light or something like that, but basically a cable that was going to be binned. Worked out perfect for this, so we swapped it all over. We have to do the same on the new one, and the reason being is basically all of the stuff that comes with it standard just isn't long enough or isn't useful for what we need, so we're going to modify it to suit. Oh yeah. Hello.
How's it going?
Good. We're racing each other. Trev doesn't know about it yet. I haven't told him the competition's on.
I think he probably knows you by now.
He waited till I was puffing and panting.
Yeah. I've got white, blue, brown and earth. Okay, so that's your power cable done.
Right?
Yep, just take that slack up there. Oh god, this is so much easier.
This white lead where it goes into the motor,
Yep.
if you get a bit of silicone one day,
Yep.
I'm going to put that around that because it's not
Watertight. The idea worked, so we managed to pull it up. We've got the rope holding some resistance so it won't fall. We've got a bolt through, but it's too small. You can just see it sticking out the side of the cheek there. We're just going to get another bolt that's a bigger bolt, but I can let go of this rope and the weight hangs off it and it's fine, so that's going to work perfect. Get a bigger bolt in there and we're good to go. You can see back here, hold it like that, it sort of hangs off to the right hand side, particularly if you look at that there, you can sort of see it dangling off to the right hand side. But that's because we've offset that from the centre of the winch. It's basically more towards the centre of the load when it's got weight on it. So it's not designed to be great when it's just sitting there like this. It's designed to be good when we've loaded it right up. So I managed to get Jess's winch hooked up. Making some dinner, by the way, in case you're wondering what I'm doing. We are having roast veggies and chicken. I'll throw some onions in a pan and fry them up, get them nice and caramelised, and then fry the chicken up so it's tasty as. Anyway, today we managed to get the winch for Jess hooked up on the back. We got an independent safety, so I welded a bolt onto the stainless that is on the boat. The safety is connected to that, and I also have a strop that goes around the winch, so if the winch comes off it doesn't land on Jess in the chair. And then we also welded the chair that we made for Jess and put the little loops on the back of the boat, so she's got ropes on either side of the chair. She can, you know, as she comes up, flicks on the either side. So yeah, that was a lot of progress done. That was awesome having Trev's help doing that.
Here she comes like the rays of the sun, she shines. A 10 out of 10 low.
That colour of the wood is really beautiful, isn't it?
Lovely, eh?
Sets my soul on fire and helps me unwind, yeah.
These are amazing. inside of the drawers and everything. It's pretty awesome, eh?
Incredible. Beautiful.
Yeah.
And bury my stripe and carry on. And carry on.
Yeah.
She got the soul of a warrior, but a tender heart, yeah. Had me hooked on her love right from the start. Pleasure and happiness is never far, no. 'Cause I've been waiting for most of my life to have.
Well, it's easy to make a mess like that,
They are
but
awesome.
it's an idea. If you get some
Yeah.
less porous timber, I think it would work really well.
Is it ink or is it something else?
Yeah, it's
Well-
ink.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, mate, for all your amazing help on this kitchen.
The guys are just starting to get organised for the day. We've been in and done a Bunnings run, a parts run. Because Dame is doing some blasting, because he's blasting the sliders, we're going to make the most of that and try and get these little gates done. There we go.
I'm going to rip the gates off the back end of the boat and sandblast those at the same time. There's a wee bit of a misalignment with one of the hinges, so one gate binds up a little bit, and I've just had a good look. I jumped in Jess's chair and hung over the back, and I figured out what's going on. Just need to rip that gate off and fix it now. Got to straighten up one of the hinges because it doesn't open and close, and it's just that one there. Just need to whack with a hammer. There we go.
Did you figure out what it is?
Yeah, it's the bottom one on the boat. Oh yeah, perfect. Alright. Slightly jamming up over there, but that's not the end of the world. Probably a little bit of resistance there is not a bad thing.
Probably not a bad thing.
Yeah, alright, that's done. On our sandblasting rig, we had a wheel alignment issue early on. Come around this way and show you. We modified the axle, put some new wheels and stuff on it. It kept falling off, so Trev's gone and made this little gadget. See if I can get it to zoom in. There you go. Bit of wire with a bit of pipe to stop the bloody wheels falling off. But I just spied what he did on this side. This is brilliant. Look at that. 2 welding discs, a slab of alloy, a bit of welding wire. So these shoes are 98% perfect, except the laces blew, and I need a little bit of adhesive around there. And I don't want to throw them out because I've become fond of them, so I'm just doing some running repairs. I reckon I've made an improvement. Done.
So what, you're going to stick them?
I'm going to stick her around there. Maybe a bit of FX15, I think that's the correct product to use on these boots.
Specifically?
And then this, I mean, admittedly these aren't UV protected laces, but I've got a whole packet of laces here, so right, let's get back into sliders. Alright, we're ready to start welding. So we're going to leave a 20mm gap between the top plate there and the inside edge of the sliders. So I've marked that out on the doubler down the bottom there. So I'll tap that out. We're also going to run a straight edge along the back of the top plate and then line it up with the edge of the doubler, so that way it's going to be even across both. and it also means that the top plate is going to be within the confines of the sliders and all the strengthening and stuff that'll be around those. So these are tacked in now, so I've just buzzed a little tack on the back of each and then on the front of this one here. The reason I've only done a small tack is because that allows me to be able to vary it sort of, you know, front to back like that, because we have to lift that wing up, and we figured out how to do it, and we were dreading having to do it with our manual winches again, so we figured that we'd get our 24-volt winch going. To do that, we're going to butcher up a little mount for it out of some real heavy duty angle. It's a real simple solution that we're going to do. We'll jam it in the door, wire up our 2 engine start batteries, a great big monster 12-volt batteries that we've got, hook them up as a 24-volt bank, and then we've got ourselves a couple of 24-volt winches that can lift the wings. So it's still temporary, they're not going to be up on the roof like they need to be permanently, but it's going to allow us to lift and drop the wings really easily and really safely, which is not something we've had before. It's quite lovely. And it also means that we can measure out these sliders to be absolutely bang on. So in the late afternoon sun of Brupeg, we're going to take our 24-volt winch here, which has this little steel base, maybe 6mm steel, something like that. We've drilled a couple of holes here and here in this. It's a piece of 100mm angle line. We're going to bolt, I'll sit that up, hopefully you'll be able to see it. We're going to basically bolt that winch like that onto this piece of steel here, and then this is going to jam up in the door, and we're going to act as our brace. This is our contraption. So it's a piece of, I can write down, 100 by 100 angle, and that's the 24-volt winch that we use to lift the wings eventually anyway. It's a 4-drive winch. That there is going to be clamped just in the door like it is right there, and that's going to allow us to haul the wing up and down initially, so we'll be able to wind it up gently. We'll probably do a 2-to-1 so we can go slow, and then we can just basically wind it up, and we'll guide the arm, because there's no pins or anything to guide the arm obviously. We'll guide it up the slider all the way to the roof, and then that's going to allow us to figure out if we have to cut this roof back anymore, which we will, but we just have to figure out, yeah, how much.
So you're happy with those two going together?
Yep. So we have our 2 main engine start batteries that Jess just threw on her shoulder and heaved up the stairs with a winch.
Jess threw it on the shoulder than you carried, right?
Yeah. So what the plan is, these are 12-volt 200 amp hour start batteries. They're 1200 CCA each. So we're going to link them together, 24-volt 2400 CCA. Which is way overkill for these winches. They only need like 180 amps or something at max pull, and our main engine pulls 600 or something when it starts. A 12-volt starter on that thing, 7 kilowatts or something stupid. What the plan is basically link these up as 24-volt. We've got the gear from the winches and the wiring diagram there that we need to basically do. It's all pretty straightforward. And then with our winch bracket over here, that guy there, clamped in, it's held into the door frame, it's pretty solid. We've made it 2-to-1, you can see there's a pulley out sitting on top of the arm there. That's going to allow us to lift the wing relatively slowly. So we want to lift it slow so that we can, it's going to be way faster than what we're used to with the old manual dodgy winches, but we want to do it as a 2-to-1 so we can lift it slow, and we can just keep an eye on it and sort of take it easy as we go up the sliders and lift that arm above the roof. And then also, yeah, just creep it up and get our measurements spot on at the top. Okay, so have you got the red dot in the corner and it's counting?
Yep, go.
Here we go.
You got eyes like summer sky. If you're smart, could kill or die. And now it starts to rain, so let's enjoy it.